That's where three slides. I'm your host, Lilly Sanchez, and this is my guest, Bethany Stiglitz.
Hi.
And we're going to be talking about peer pressure today and how God can help you with it and talk you through it. So, Bethany, do you mind if I ask you a few questions?
Sure.
How did you see God show up when you were experiencing peer pressure?
So I was friends with these girls at my old complex, or so I thought. But they would definitely peer pressure me into bullying kids, and when kids were getting into arguments, encouraging them to fight. And then another situation, this girl wanted to fight me because I thought her boyfriend was cute, but I didn't know that they were dating at the time. And if I hadn't said no to fight, thankfully I did, I could have been seriously hurt or possibly even killed because she did karate and she was really strong. But her cousin told me that if it escalated, the fight escalated, she would pull this girl off of me. But I just knew that that wouldn't happen.
Yeah, I could see that.
So then the next time someone tried to peer pressure me, I heard a little voice in my head say to just calm down the situation so it wouldn't get into anything worse.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, peer pressuring's scary.
Yeah.
It's definitely something that could overtake you and make you feel pressured and scary at the time. All right, so I have another question.
Okay.
When did God give you wisdom when dealing with peer pressure?
He definitely used all those instances to pull me closer to him and to help me be more cautious when choosing who my close friends are or who even my friends are, and to just be more aware of who that person is, and if something like this would happen, what would they do? How would they handle it?
That's a good point of view from it. All right, so now this is going to be a three worded question. So now, how did God give you strength when dealing with peer pressure?
He allowed me, or he told me to study more verses about trusting in him.
That's really good. Wow. That's really good. All right.
Thank you.
Now, how did God give you guidance when dealing with it?
Definitely speaking through me through the verses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's really good. When he spoke to you,
Yeah.
he spoke to you through verses, words, and friends.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Thank you.
All right. So, what are some signs that someone is being peer pressured? Like, how do you think that would happen?
If they are being told to do something that they don't want to do, or feel if they did it, they would be endangered or in trouble, and their friends would keep on pressuring them to do it. Like, if they wanted to go throw a rock at a window, they would just keep going. Come on, do it. It'll be fun. And then we'll just run away. Just do it. Just do it.
Yeah, so they're instigating the problem.
Yeah.
They're not good friends either if they're telling you to go against what God has for you and what God would tell you to do and how he wants his world set.
Yeah.
And there's some bad people in the world who try to turn the world upside down. It's not really that good of a thing, but that's okay.
Yeah.
There's always Christians in the world who could help you.
Yes.
All right. What can kids do to deal with it?
One thing that I did that really helped me was just praying and stop talking to those people who were hurting me, who were pressuring me into these things.
Yeah.
And also just talk to my parents. I know it might be scary to tell your parents what's going on, but if I didn't tell my parents what happened, I would either be a completely different person, or just really hurt, mentally and physically.
Yeah. That's really good because always tell your parents about stuff. It can help resolve the problems, even though it might seem scary. It can make the problem seem easier than instead of like dealing with it by yourself or feeling afraid. And it's a lot of pressure to just deal with it by yourself, and it's a lot of weight to carry.
Yeah.
It feels a little hard just to carry stuff by yourself, especially when there's somebody like who can help you with that.
Yeah.
All right, so why can peer pressure be so hard for kids our age?
Well, kids our age, they want to be cool. They want to be liked. But if you want to be liked with the wrong group of people, that's where the problems start. So, if you get into this group of friends and you think they're really cool, so you want to fit in, but they end up being the wrong group, then you can end up getting hurt. People are stupid now that they will do anything to be cool, to be liked. They don't really think about what would happen. So they don't stop to think what will happen if I, say, drink this beer. What will happen? What will happen if I fight this girl or guy? What will happen to me and to them?
Yeah. Popularity is a big thing now.
Yes.
It's something that you try to just focus on and try to get. People make it a point in their life to just be popular so they could say back when they're older that how popular they were in school.
Yeah.
Just to grow their own ego.
But even if you're popular, there's still going to be instances where you're going to be peer pressured and where these instances will happen.
Yeah, because whatever age you are, people could be like, oh, you should drink because they make you popular.
Yeah.
Yeah, to like be a part of this friend group, it's such a big thing, especially in school or in like friend groups, to be popular and be on top, which is something that's crazy hard, but something that people think it's really necessary in their lives.
Yeah.
It's not fair. You're like, oh my God, they love it.
It's not fair.
So what advice do you give to people who study peer pressure or who have it?
Well, I would say to just study this verse, Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That was the main verse that God spoke to me. And if I didn't study, I studied it, I read it every night, and I just tried to really keep up with what the verse says. Yeah.
So when you were dealing with peer pressure, did you see God show up in it? Did he help you with it?
He definitely did. He spoke through my dad a lot. I would talk to my dad a lot about these things. And I would go into these conversations with my dad not thinking anything will happen. He'll just tell me to just ignore her, stay away from her. But something he said really stuck with me. He said, next time this happens, because it will happen, talk to her and say, I don't think what you're doing is right. Peer pressuring these kids who don't deserve this, I don't think that's right. And if you want to stay my friend, then you need to stop.
That's 100% true. That's so good. So what are the signs of peer pressure? Like, how can you just notice it from somebody?
Okay, this is a hard question.
Like, maybe through, like, anxiety they're having or, like, stages? Like you can just notice some people.
Like, if you are, like, walking by this random person, you can just tell they're being peer pressured.
They're scared and they want to escape.
Definitely if you're around a group of friends and you, like Lily said, you're scared to what you're going to say.
Yeah.
You're scared about what they're going to think, and you're just scared.
Yeah. I mean, you want to just hide away sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. After this girl wanted to fight me, I was terrified. I stayed in my house for about 3 months. All my friends thought I was sick or something. But I was so terrified to go outside. And after that 3 months, which I gained some courage, my aunt and uncle actually moved into the same apartment complex that I lived in. And I would have to have my brother walk me up to their house if I wanted to go hang out with them, because I didn't know where she was going to be. If she still wanted to fight me, she could pop out at any corner and just start beating me up. And that was terrifying to think of, that.
Yeah.
Just walking around in my own apartment complex could get me killed. So then my dad offered to put me in, well, not offered, but he said we should get you in karate classes, so that if this happens again and we're not prepared, you can be prepared and you can defend yourself.
Yeah. I mean, it's scary just to walk around and just be scared of somebody that they're just going to hit you one day or attack you.
It's scary to think about the place where you live is the least safest place that you can be. So my thought of process was, in the apartment complex, that was the least safest place I could be, out in the open.
Yeah.
So that's why I stayed in my house for a good amount of time, because I knew I was safe in my house, and I knew if she came to the door wanting to talk, then my dad or my brother would tell her to go away, or
scary knowing that.
It's terrifying.
Because people think home is their safe place, but if you're afraid of somebody just walking up to your door and just being like, hey, I want to fight, like, that's terrifying. Because people expect home to be their comfort, their home place. I mean, it's called home for a reason. That's where people find love.
Yeah. I remember that situation vaguely. So it was about 3 days into that 3-month period of me staying in my house, and she knocked on my door, and it was her cousin, and 2 other of our friends. And I walked outside. I didn't tell my parents that I was going to talk to her. They knew that she wanted to fight me, but I didn't tell them that I was going to talk to her. And I walked outside, and she said, I want to fight you. And I was like, no, I'm not going to let you do that. So we talked back and forth for a little bit, and eventually she took me, we had this big tree in front of our house, and she took me to it, and she like took me behind it, and then she was like, well, let's just slapbox then. If I can't fight you, then I'll just slapbox you. And so she did it. She slapped me across the face, and it was hard. I remember her slapping me and me just thinking, am I bleeding? Like, what just happened?
Yeah.
And I was only about 11 at this time, so I was young.
Wow.
And so she was like, come on, hit me back. And I just lightly tapped on the shoulder because I didn't want it to escalate. I knew if I slapped her the way she slapped me, then it would escalate and something worse would happen.
Yeah, you could start a fight.
Yeah. So then I went inside. She left. I went inside. I went up to my parents' bedroom, and my sister was in there watching a show. And I went up to her, and I said, this girl just wanted to fight me because of what happened. And she immediately paused her show and was like, what? And so we went down and told my parents. And my dad was so mad that he said, if this girl even lays a finger on you, I will call the police on her.
Which is good, yeah.
I will, yeah. So it was scary seeing that part of my dad because I knew if something bad were to happen, he would do something, but I didn't know that it would be so intense.
Yeah, like knowing the people that you love, you expect them to treat others how they treat you.
Yeah.
Like just being like how they love you, you treat them. You expect how they would treat you, how they would treat others, like they love you. But it's scary to see other people that you love just like turn a different page and just you see a different side of them.
Yeah, it was terrifying. I think I'd only seen that side of my dad one other time, and it was when we moved out of our big house. It was gorgeous, but we had to move out, and we ended up living with my grandparents for a few months, and then we moved into the apartments. But in that 3-week period of us in the process of moving out, we lived with my dad's best friend, and every time he would come home, my dad would go to the door and guide him to his room so he could not hurt any of us. And he would tell him, if you lay a finger on my family, I will call the police on you. I will hurt you. You do not touch my family.
Which is good.
And it was scary because my dad, for the past 14 years, has been this big, loving teddy bear. Like, he's been my dad. He's been my father figure. And seeing that different side of him was scary because I knew he could do that, but I didn't understand what it would look like if something like that had happened.
Yeah, you could see people just being this big, fun, loving person, and then they could just turn a page and just be a completely different person.
Yeah.
They could just turn into this scary person that you haven't seen before.
Yeah.
And it's definitely not a good time. You don't want to be around them. It's scary because if they threaten other people, you don't want to be one of those people in the line of fire.
Yeah.
You don't want to be accidentally threatened.
Yes. It was a scary time. But during that 3-month period, this movie came out, and it was about this kid going to a Christian camp and finding the Lord. And so I watched the movie, and I'd never seen another movie like it. It was the first ever Christian live-action movie where it wasn't all about something that happened at church, something that had happened at a Christian school. It was this guy going through a rough time, getting peer pressured into doing bad things, and just having a complete attitude change just by going to a Christian camp and really experiencing the Lord. And so seeing that made me think that, okay, God can help me through anything. God can strengthen me through anything. Whatever God does, I know that it'll end up being okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, this was a great segment. So thank you for joining us on God's Work Through Youth Lives. I'm your host, Lilly Sanchez, and this is my guest, Bethany. Bye-bye.
Bye.